What if I told you the NFL's most dynamic quarterback is still fighting a battle that began decades ago? A unanimous MVP who shattered Michael Vick's rushing record, rewrote the passing books, and left defenders grasping at shadows, yet somehow can't escape one question. Is he good enough to play quarterback? The year is 2024, and Lamar Jackson has heard it all. He's just an athlete. He can't read defenses. Maybe he should try wide receiver. Sound familiar? It should, because 50 years ago, they said the same things about James Harris. 40 years ago, about Warren Moon. 20 years ago, about Michael Vick. In a league where 70% of players are black, only now has the number of black quarterbacks reached 15 starters. Why? Because for decades, the quarterback position wasn't just about throwing a football. It was about who America trusted to lead. But here's what they don't want you to see. While critics debated if Lamar Jackson could play quarterback, he didn't just play the position, he redefined it. And still, after every touchdown, after every broken record, after a unanimous MVP season, the whispers continue. This isn't just about football anymore. This is about a system that's been in place longer than the forward pass, and one man's fight to change it forever. Before we dive into this story, hit that subscribe button and help us reach 1,000 subscribers. Because stories like this need to be told. For decades, the NFL's message was clear. Black men could run, catch, and tackle, but they couldn't lead. The quarterback position wasn't just about throwing a football, it was about being the face of a franchise, the leader in the huddle, the decision maker on the field. And in America, those roles came with an unspoken color requirement. 1953, Willie Thrower steps onto the field for the Chicago Bears, becoming the first black quarterback in the modern NFL. His appearance lasts just 8 plays. The message? Know your place. For the next 15 years, no NFL team would dare put a black man under center. Then came Marlon Briscoe. In 1968, the Denver Broncos gave him a shot, not because they wanted to, but because they had to. Their starter was injured, and Briscoe was their last resort. In his first start, he threw for 335 yards and 4 touchdowns. His reward? Being converted to wide receiver the next season. James Shaq Harris broke another barrier in 1969, becoming the first black quarterback to start a season opener. But even as he led the Los Angeles Rams to the playoffs and made the Pro Bowl, the critics wouldn't quiet down. He's just athletic, they said. He can't read defenses. The same words we'd hear decades later. 1974 brought Joe Gilliam to the Pittsburgh Steelers. He started the season 4-1-1, but even a winning record couldn't save his job. The Steelers benched him for Terry Bradshaw, and another black quarterback's dream was deferred. The wait for true recognition would last until 1988, when Doug Williams didn't just play in Super Bowl XXIII, he dominated it. 4 touchdowns in a single quarter, 340 passing yards. Super Bowl MVP. For one night, there was no debate about whether a black man could lead a team to glory. But even that historic moment couldn't break the cycle. It would take another 13 years before Michael Vick became the first black quarterback selected first overall in the NFL draft. The message was changing, but slowly. Too slowly. Warren Moon had to escape to Canada, dominate the CFL for 6 years before the NFL would give him a chance. Today, he stands in the Hall of Fame, a testament to the talent the NFL almost missed because of its biases. January 7, 1997, Pompano Beach, Florida. While the NFL was still struggling with its quarterback bias, Lamar Jackson was born into a world that would test him from day one. Raised by a single mother, Felicia Jones, who would become his manager, his rock, and his fiercest defender, she saw something in young Lamar that others would take years to recognize. At 8 years old, Lamar wasn't just throwing footballs, he was studying defenses. While other kids played video games, he was drawing up plays in notebooks. But in the streets of Pompano Beach, being a black quarterback wasn't just unusual, it was almost unheard of. They wanted me to play running back, receiver, even defensive back, Jackson recalls. But my mama always told me, you're a quarterback. Don't let anybody tell you different. At Boynton Beach High School, Jackson's talent couldn't be denied, even if some tried. He wasn't just beating defenses, he was embarrassing them. 2,000 passing yards, 1,000 rushing yards, and a highlight reel that looked more like a video game glitch than high school football. Yet the major recruiting services still labeled him an athlete rather than a quarterback. Then came Louisville. While other top programs saw an athlete they could convert to another position, Louisville head coach Bobby Petrino saw his future quarterback. In his first start, Jackson showed exactly why, but it was his sophomore season that silenced the early doubters, or should have. 3,543 passing yards, 1,571 rushing yards, 51 total touchdowns. Numbers that didn't just break records, they shattered them. The Heisman Trophy voters had no choice. Lamar Jackson became the youngest player ever to win college football's most prestigious award. But even with a Heisman Trophy in hand, the whispers continued. He's not accurate enough. He can't play from the pocket. He's just another athletic quarterback. The same tired phrases that haunted every black quarterback before him. History was about to repeat itself unless Lamar Jackson could change it. 2018, the NFL Combine. A Heisman Trophy winner walks into Lucas Oil Stadium, and somehow some NFL scouts have a suggestion that sounds like an echo from the past. Maybe you should try wide receiver. Lamar Jackson's response? He didn't just refuse, he didn't even run a 40-yard dash.
No, not at all. Strictly quarterback.
The same words Warren Moon had to say decades earlier. The same fight, just a different warrior. The draft experts went to work. Despite 3 years of game film, despite the Heisman Trophy, despite breaking records at Louisville, suddenly Jackson's ability to play quarterback was in question. His accuracy is suspect. He's too reliant on his legs. He won't survive in the NFL. The coded language was barely coded anymore. Meanwhile, Josh Allen, whose college completion percentage was lower than Jackson's, was praised for his raw potential. Sam Darnold's turnover issues were dismissed as gunslinger mentality. Josh Rosen was lauded for being NFL ready. All three would be drafted before Jackson. Draft night, 4 quarterbacks selected, the green room getting emptier. Finally, with the last pick of the first round, the Baltimore Ravens make their move. The same franchise that once bet on another unconventional quarterback named Joe Flacco was ready to bet on Lamar Jackson. But even that moment came with an asterisk. The Ravens had already passed on Jackson with their first pick at number 25. 27 other teams had passed on him completely. The message was clear. Even with a Heisman Trophy, even with record-breaking stats, a black quarterback still had to prove himself twice as much.
They gonna get a Super Bowl out of me.
Jackson promised that night.
Believe that. Believe that.
The chip on his shoulder wasn't just personal anymore, it was historical. The NFL wasn't ready for what happened next. But then again, the NFL had never seen anything like Lamar Jackson. His rookie season started from the bench. Joe Flacco was still the Ravens' starter, a Super Bowl MVP with a $100 million arm, but when Flacco went down with an injury in Week 9, Jackson got his chance. What followed wasn't just a changing of the guard, it was a revolution. The Ravens were 4-5, their season slipping away. Jackson steps in, and suddenly, the impossible becomes routine. 7 wins in their last 8 games. A division title. At 21 years old, he becomes the youngest quarterback to ever start a playoff game. The critics said he couldn't play quarterback in the NFL. He made them watch as he redefined what a quarterback could be. 2019? That's when Lamar Jackson didn't just break the mold, he shattered it. Week 1. 7 touchdowns against Miami. Perfect passer rating. The whispers start. Week 3. Beats Patrick Mahomes in a shootout. The whispers grow louder. Week 9. Hands the Patriots their first loss.
Not bad for a running back.
Jackson quips after the game, throwing the scouts' words back in their faces. By season's end, the numbers were staggering. 3,127 passing yards. 106 rushing yards, shattering Michael Vick's quarterback rushing record. 36 touchdown passes, led the league. Quarterback rating 113.3, higher than Tom Brady's career best. The NFL had no choice. Lamar Jackson became the second unanimous MVP in history, joining Tom Brady in that exclusive club. He wasn't just winning, he was dominating in a way that forced the league to rethink everything they thought they knew about the quarterback position. You know why this matters? Former NFL quarterback Randall Cunningham reflected. Because every black kid who's told they can't play quarterback now has Lamar Jackson to point to. They can say, look at what's possible. The Ravens transformed their entire offense around Jackson's unique talents. The same skills that draft analysts said wouldn't work in the NFL became the foundation of one of the most explosive offenses in league history. The Ravens set the NFL record for team rushing yards in a season. Their point differential was the highest in the league. But even as Jackson rewrote record books and collected accolades, a familiar pattern emerged. Every mistake was magnified. Every loss brought questions about figuring him out. The goalposts kept moving. MVP wasn't enough. Regular season dominance wasn't enough. The whispers had changed from can he play quarterback to can he win the big one? Same bias, different words. Turn on any NFL broadcast featuring Lamar Jackson and you'll hear it. The difference is in the details, in the words they choose, in what they emphasize, and what they don't. When Josh Allen scrambles, he's extending the play. When Lamar Jackson does it, he's reverting to his natural athleticism. When Patrick Mahomes throws off platform, he's creative. When Jackson does it, he's undisciplined. The commentary isn't just about football anymore. It's about perception. Listen closer. During the 2019 MVP season, broadcasts mentioned Jackson's athleticism 821 times. They mentioned his football IQ just 87 times. He'd make a brilliant pre-snap read or manipulate a safety with his eyes. The commentary would focus on his speed, his elusiveness, everything but his mind. Social media tells an even starker story. After a loss to the Chiefs in 2020, running back started trending. Jackson had thrown for 385 yards. The tweets weren't just criticism, they were revealing a deeper truth about how black quarterbacks are viewed. One mistake, and they're ready to strip away the quarterback label entirely. I've seen this movie before, says Michael Vick, who faced similar criticism during his career. They want to put you in a box. They want to make you one-dimensional. But Lamar, he's breaking that box apart. Even the praise comes with asterisks. During a 2021 broadcast, a commentator called Jackson a new breed of quarterback. The implications were clear. He's not a traditional quarterback. He's something else. Something other. The same subtle othering that's followed black quarterbacks for generations. The national media has its narrative. Jackson is an athlete playing quarterback, not a quarterback who happens to be athletic. Every game becomes a referendum on his style of play. Every loss brings out the same tired questions. Has the league figured him out? Is this style sustainable? Yet the numbers tell a different story. Since entering the league, Jackson's passer rating from the pocket is higher than several traditional quarterbacks. His completion percentage on deep throws ranks among the NFL's best. But these stats rarely make the headlines. They don't fit the narrative. The thing about these narratives, says Tony Dungy, the first black head coach to win a Super Bowl, is that they're so deeply ingrained, people don't even realize they're perpetuating them. But for black quarterbacks, we've always had to be twice as good to get half the credit. When you're black in the NFL, even your value has to be proven differently. Just ask Doug Williams, who was paid less than every starting quarterback in the league, including the backups, the same year he led the Buccaneers to the playoffs. History has a way of echoing, and Lamar Jackson's contract saga wrote the latest chapter. An MVP, the face of a franchise, the player who revolutionized the position, negotiating his own contract because he dared to know his worth. The headlines were immediate. Is Jackson asking for too much? Can you build around a running quarterback? The same media that celebrated Kirk Cousins for betting on himself now questioned Jackson's judgment. The same analysts who praised Josh Allen's massive contract now debated if Jackson was worth the investment. The Ravens placed the non-exclusive franchise tag on Jackson in 2023. The message seemed clear: prove it again. Prove it like Warren Moon had to prove it in Canada. Prove it like Doug Williams had to prove it in Tampa. Prove it like every black quarterback before you had to prove it twice. But this time, something was different. Jackson stood his ground. No agent, no middleman. Just a player who knew his value in a league that historically undervalued people who looked like him. The pressure mounted. The criticism grew louder. He's being foolish. He's getting bad advice. He should just take what he's offered. Then came the breakthrough, a 5-year, $260 million contract extension, the most guaranteed money in NFL history at the time. Jackson hadn't just won, he'd changed the game again. But even this victory came with whispers. Can he live up to it? Will his style last? Is he worth the risk? Different decade, same questions. Just the numbers got bigger. 2024, 15 black quarterbacks start in the NFL. Patrick Mahomes has 3 Super Bowl rings. Jalen Hurts leads Philadelphia. Deshaun Watson commands the highest guaranteed contract in NFL history. Progress, right? Look closer. When Patrick Mahomes wins, he's cerebral. When he loses, no one suggests moving him to running back. When Josh Allen runs over defenders, he's tough. When Lamar Jackson does it, he's risking his career. The bias didn't disappear. It just got better at hiding. In quarterback rooms across America, young black players still hear the same suggestions. Maybe try wide receiver. Your athleticism would be great on defense. The path that Willie Thrower started, that Warren Moon widened, that Lamar Jackson now walks, it's still uphill. The numbers tell their own story. Of 32 NFL teams, only 3 have black quarterback coaches. 0 have black offensive coordinators. The pipeline isn't just about who throws the ball, it's about who calls the plays, who makes the decisions, who shapes the next generation. Every time a black quarterback succeeds, says Tony Dungy, it breaks down another barrier. But we're still counting firsts in 2024. That tells you something. The change is coming from the ground up, right? In high schools across America, young black quarterbacks aren't just playing the position, they're redefining it. They're watching Lamar Jackson make the impossible look routine. They're seeing Patrick Mahomes turn backyard football into Super Bowl magic. They're learning that their style of play isn't wrong. It's next. But the question remains, in a league where 70% of players are black, why are we still counting the number of black quarterbacks? Why is every mistake still a referendum on their ability to play the position? How many records need to be broken? How many MVPs need to be won before the conversation changes? In a quiet moment, away from the roar of the crowd, Lamar Jackson reflects on his journey. Every time I step on that field, I'm not just playing for me. I'm playing for every kid who's been told they can't be a quarterback, every player who was asked to change positions, every dream that got deferred. His mother, Felicia Jones, remembers the early days. I told him, "Don't let them put you in a box. You're not just an athlete, you're a quarterback." He was drawing up plays before he could write his name properly. Ravens head coach John Harbaugh sees something different. People talk about his speed, his athleticism, but they miss his mind. His understanding of the game is extraordinary. The way he processes information, makes decisions, that's what makes him special. Mark Ingram, his former teammate, puts it plainly, "Y'all still don't get it. This man studies like Brady, thinks like Manning, and just happens to run like Bo Jackson. But all some people see is a running back playing quarterback." Jackson himself rarely addresses the racial undertones directly. But when he does, it's powerful. "It's still there," he says, looking straight ahead. "That's why I need that championship. That's why we need that championship." Some doors only open from the inside. From Willie Thrower to Warren Moon, from Doug Williams to Michael Vick, from Lamar Jackson to the next generation. The story of black quarterbacks in the NFL isn't just about football. It's about America itself. About who we trust to lead, who we allow to define themselves, and who has to fight just to be seen for what they are. Lamar Jackson didn't ask to be a symbol, he just wanted to play quarterback. But every time he steps onto the field, he carries the weight of history on his shoulders. Every touchdown pass challenges a stereotype. Every MVP vote changes a perception. Every win opens a door for someone else. The question isn't whether Lamar Jackson is overlooked because he's black. The question is why. In 2024, we're still asking these questions at all. Why every black quarterback still has to be exceptional just to be accepted. Why every mistake still feeds into the same tired narratives. But watch closely. Because every time Lamar Jackson breaks free from the pocket, he's not just running from defenders, he's running toward a future where the only question that matters is, can you play? What do you think? Has the NFL truly progressed? Or are we just seeing a new version of the same old biases? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want to see more hard-hitting stories about the NFL's hidden history, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Together, we can change how these stories are told. NFL Stars Stories. The truth behind the game.